All right, guys. Well, despite the delay of the leaks, we actually made it, and we are here with the penultimate chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 270. This is basically it. This is what I would consider the biggest amount of an epilogue that we'll probably ever get. This is the most amount of questions on certain characters that we'll get answers for, because it seems like the next chapter is going to be a traditional, quick little side mission, fun story to end the entire series off with. And I know there's plenty of people still crossing their fingers and putting all of their college tuition on the bet that we are getting Jujutsu Kaisen 2, which, with the reveal that we may be getting a big announcement from Gege, it's either Jujutsu Kaisen 2 or his version of Oshi no Ko. So with that being said, let's just get right into the spoiler summary. Again, they were a little bit delayed, but I'm very happy to bring you the translations and basically the summary of the chapter. So let's get right into it, guys. The final epilogue. This chapter is entitled 270 Dreams End, and it picks right up where we left off, with a quick little time skip of Megumi and Shoko basically visiting Sumiki's grave. Thankfully, Shoko was able to bury Sumiki completely, take the whatever was remaining of the corpse that Sukuna left behind, and drop behind, which Shoko basically admits that, hey, you know what, I wish we were able to do this with Geto, and Fushiguro is very thankful that Shoko is willing to do this for them. However, as Shoko says, she doesn't necessarily believe in the afterlife, but she's more than happy to make people happy in the real world, and if they can make people happy in the afterlife too, then that's just a plus. We then move to the chamber that the final Sukuna finger is being kept, and Gakukanji and Utahime, who I assume are the closest things to higher ups that we have left, are basically discussing the entire idea of, now that Sukuna is gone, he unfortunately took Tengen with him. He basically fully absorbed Tengen by the time Sukuna died, so with Sukuna being, melted away, so is Tengen, which we all know what that means. Without Tengen, we don't have any immortals trying to kidnap young girls and take them as their own vessels. But more importantly, I think what everyone is more concerned about, besides the other predator being off the streets, is the pure barriers that essentially keep all cursed energy inside of Japan, keep all cursed spirits flourishing in Japan, and keep all sorcerers flourishing in Japan. Basically the main reason why the culling games were able to happen, and the main reason why there's no sorcerers, or rarely any sorcerers outside of Japan, are eventually going to crumble and fall. It's not going to happen right away, as Utahime mentions that we should probably think of a solution pretty quickly, but Gakukanji, who has chilled out after has finally let Gojo's influence reach over him, he stops, looks back, and says, hey, you know what? We already know this is going to be a problem. We can confirm this is going to be a problem. Instead of worrying about this and rushing to get things done and doing everything we possibly can, let's just wait for the new generation to figure themselves out. Everyone is still young. Everyone's still got childhoods to enjoy. Let's not leave them with this big problem right now. Let's let everyone grow, and when the barriers break, we'll be ready for it. Which is honestly major development from Gakukanji. It really is. I was worried that him being the only higher up, he was going to go right back into his normal shenanigans, but it seems that he really has changed for the better, which we love to see. But what we do get full confirmation on, at least, is that with the defeat of Kenjaku Sukuna and with the melting away of Tengen, the culling games are essentially over. The culling game barriers are dropping. The culling game as a whole is kind of just done. It no longer functions, and especially with all of the players that are still alive, either working together, working with the protagonist group, or as we find out, Katana and Sumo Guy are just going to be hiding and living their lives in normal Tokyo, thanks to Maki, because Maki's such a good person. At the end of the day, you may have taken away Maki's heart, but she's still got it. Because we basically get full confirmation that Angel and Yuji are going to be doing their best to remove all of the cursed objects from the remaining reincarnated sorcerers, basically returning everyone to their time period, what Angel came for in the first place. And because Maki's such a good person, she says, hey, you know what, Katana Guy? Well, first she gives Katana Guy a sword, which she did not have to do. She got him a gift, which is great. But she basically says, hey, look, we're going to be getting rid of all of the culling game players, good or evil, and you are no separate from that. So all I can do for you is tell you that, hey, look out for us. Hide in Tokyo, hide in Japan in the mess of cursed spirits and cursed users. No one will find you, and you'll probably be able to live normal lives. It's the best I can do for you. I can't promise anything, but hey, look, do your best to try and live as long as you can, which again, good for Maki. I mean, if anybody deserves to live a normal life in the culling games, it's Daido and Mayo. I would have loved to have seen where Oro is. Maybe we'll get that in the next chapter. Highly doubtful. I don't know. Maybe we can just assume the person that Kenjaku killed, the random no-name girl that looked like Yoro, was just Yoro. I guess that's what we're gonna have to go with. And keeping up with the epilogue of the culling game, we focus on Charles Bernard, who was not a reincarnated sorcerer, obviously one of the modern age sorcerers who had just awoken, and he is getting his dream fulfilled. He's finally being able to draw manga. He's getting a one-shot chance with an editor right behind him, and he's OD. He's basically saying that, you know what, even veterans shouldn't get waited on. Veterans should be rushed to push out their manga. I feel so good to be drawing manga, which, you know what, just because now you're in the industry, don't forget where you came from, bro. Do not forget how hard work these motherfuckers are. Gege, what kind of messages are you putting out there? Thankfully, Charles Bernard is not the only modern day sorcerer that we are touching base on, because yes, sir, Fumihiko Takaba lives to tell the tale. I told y'all from the beginning, man was just taking a nap. There's no way Gege would eliminate his best character ever written. And we basically get full confirmation, although with the person that's with Takaba, a lot of people are saying it's possible he literally could just be in the afterlife or something like that, which I hope and pray not. I really genuinely want to believe that not only was Takaba able to survive and is able to fulfill his comedian career to the fullest, we've made so many jokes about what if Takaba would think it was funny if Gojo lived, or what if Takaba would think it was funny if Sukuna came back to life. Like, what if Takaba just ruined the entire cast and said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if the merger happened anyway, and then just sacrificed and started the apocalypse? Of all things for Takaba's funny curse technique to do, it brings back Kenjaku. Or at least from all we can see, the character is kind of hidden by speech bubbles. Obviously, it's trying to be vague. It's trying to be subtle. It could very much be someone that looks like Kenjaku that Takaba was just lucky enough to come by. Maybe it was some kind of reincarnation or something, his soul transferred. I think, going off of what I said before, if anything, if Takaba was able to use his curse technique to create a non-evil version of Kenjaku, basically the perfect duo companion for him, because we already know Takaba and Kenjaku were the perfect duo, right? No one will ever be able to beat a duo like that. So why try and find a partner when you can just make your own? And you know what? This one isn't evil. It's kind of like a Boo Oob situation in Dragon Ball. At least we can hope, right? This is a great way to send Takaba off. Again, whether it be a fake Kenjaku that he created, someone that looks like Kenjaku, or fuck it, you know what? I'll even accept Kenjaku didn't die all along and he pretended to give up, but actually realized that being Takaba's comedy partner was what he wanted more than the merger. Just, again, that's just my headcanon, but this is an interesting development from Takaba. We even touch base with Rin Amai, of all people. He gets 2 to 3 pages, even more than Charles does, which is insane if you really realize the amount of, impact Rin Amai had on the story. But Rin Amai, at the very least, realizes the error of his ways. He realizes that he can no longer live licking the boots of the people that are above him. He needs to pave his own way. He needs to become his own person. And that's what he chooses to do. He goes all the way back and finds that one child that he bullied long ago that Yuji almost beat the brakes off of him for, and he apologizes. And obviously, you know what, that kid doesn't give a shit. He's like, if one of my old bullies found me out of the blue and apologized for not doing anything when I got beat up the one time, I'd probably make that exact same face at him and be like, bro, get away from me. But at least it shows that he's making an effort to try and to move on, because again, he didn't have to do this. This guy didn't give a fuck if he apologized. So this truly was just the beginning of Rin Amai's new life. Speaking of a new life, it seems Higuruma, even after being confirmed alive, also beat the allegations of murder somehow, some way. He killed multiple people in his, tantrum during the culling games. And apparently, according to his lawyer, his assistant says that they're not going to be prosecuting him. And he says it's most likely pressure from headquarters. Jujutsu Society is essentially paving the way for Higuruma and clearing his slate so he can continually work as a sorcerer, which one, Higuruma needs to be a teacher at Jujutsu High right away. Fuck this lawyer bullshit. Even crazier, the fact that, you know what, you can kill anybody you want as long as you decide to be a sorcerer afterwards. I mean, hey, Gojo was the one all the way back in Hidden Inventory that tells the paper bag guy, you know, he's like, hey, you know, if you want to turn around and become a Jujutsu sorcerer, we're always hiring. We will literally accept anybody. And it explains why Mei gets away with all the random shit that she does. And it's also crazy to me and funny to me that the existence of sorcerers and curses are so commonplace now that Higuruma can just tell these people that, yeah, you know what? They want me to be a sorcerer, so that's why I got off of that murder charge. I wonder what the general public assumes about people getting off on murder because, hey, this person needs to become your hero, your Superman that needs to save your day from evil monsters. We're gonna exonerate all of his murder charges. I'm sorry, huh? Who did you say is our superhero again? The last character that we touch base with is Miss Fumble herself, Hana Karusu, an Angel, which of course we know Angel is still present. Angel's going to remain in this timeline, at least until all of the reincarnated sorcerers are brought back into the afterlife. Angel's gonna stick around and help Yuji separate everybody. But even though Angel's gone, Hana Karusu stays, of course, you know, Madam Fumbler herself. And Megumi is apologizing for basically removing Hana's right arm for good. She'll never get it back. And Angel admits that, yeah, you know what, not for nothing. The fact that he probably went through your memories and saw that Angel liked you is probably what happened. So it makes Megumi feel even worse. But Megumi being the way that he is, and of course, I could have seen the ship coming from a mile away. Gege was not able to hide it. He wasn't subtle at all. The relationship of the fumblers, the relationship of the frauds, it is, you know, two characters could never be more perfect for each other, in my honest opinion. I think this goes great. Yeah, Megumi says that he'll be her right arm from now on. He'll be her right-hand man. And Hana blurts out, oh, well, when are we getting married? When's the ceremony? And completely freaks Megumi out. And he just starts stuttering. He goes, oh, I didn't mean it in that way. I have a mission. Bye. Let's talk later. Peace out. And she's like, oh, I definitely freaked his ass out, which, yes, you 100% did, Hana. But you know what? Again, they were meant to be together. I didn't doubt that for one hot second. And then the final quarter of the chapter is essentially setting up what will be the epilogue, the ultimate, you know, finale chapter, which is next week. Basically, we pick up with two random civilians. And according to this dude's girlfriend, she came home one day and he's got some gnarly eyes going on. His face is all altered and his face is completely changed and messed up. And Ichichi is essentially reading this testimony out because they contacted Jujutsu sorcerers. I imagine sorcerers are much more commonplace. I mean, if anything, the business is probably booming now, because now when you see a curse, you're like, whoa, I don't know what to do with that. Now you're like, who are we gonna call? Jujutsu sorcerers, you know, it's some Ghostbusters shit. We are ending the chapter and most likely ending the series on the last and final trio mission. Say what you will about certain things not getting addressed. I mean, the military did not get addressed, which is absolutely insane to me. The fact that the military is able to go into a country, kidnap sorcerers, because Maki even admits that their next goal is going to be trying to save the kidnapped sorcerers from the other country. Are they going to break into the United States and just do a jailbreak on the sorcerers? Like, I'm genuinely curious what the plan is from going forward. Are we actually going to, what about the Geneva Convention? What about the other countries? Was it just the United States? I know Kenjaku was seen in China. He went to multiple different countries supposedly to get all these things. Was it because it was inside the barriers? The other countries were able to get away scot-free. Japan didn't know, you know, all of its communications were down, its electronics were down, so somehow they didn't realize multiple countries invaded them. It seems like a cop-out to me. If I can make any critique to the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, it's the fact that what the hell happened with the military story. That was the most undercooked, underdeveloped, and underutilized part of the Culling Game arc, and the fact that it's something that barely gets even mentioned, just offhandedly in the end, blows my mind. We still do have one chapter left, so maybe we'll find out differently, but I mean, Gege, that's my one gripe with you. That was the one thing you needed to at least answer. What about the Geneva Convention? And after discussing everything, our three favorite sorcerers decide that they're on the case They're the ones that are going to solve this. Megami mentions that even though it seems pretty harmless now, and even though it only seems to affect certain people, because right now they're looking at the dude and he seems fine, they are basically assuming that, hey, you know what? We probably shouldn't let this slide. It may be just like Yasahachi Bridge, where sure, it's simple right now, but in a year, 2 years, who knows how long, maybe it could be a bomb that detonates off this guy's face. You know what I mean? So it's important to take care of this. And Yuji goes, hey, you know what? If it's just a curse user, or even if it's a cursed spirit, how are they going to stop the three of us? Which I think is so true. I think at this point, all three of these characters, maybe not so much Nobara. Nobara's got a little bit of way to go. She's still, you know, Shibuya level incident. Megami and Yuji have definitely grown significantly from their last point. So I am very much excited to see this last chapter. It's been a long ride. It's been one of the longest rides of all time. Not long enough, unfortunately, I feel like is one of the biggest complaints. It's good that we finally got an epilogue chapter. It's good that we finally got to see what a lot of these Culling Game players are ending their, you know, stories with. And now that everyone else is done, let's see how the trio finishes off. I love the ending being a trio mission. It's very similar to season 1 ending, where season 1 ended with Origin of Obedience, and that was the perfect ending, showing where all three of our characters are at this state in the story. And at the very end, if we can see where all three of our characters are as far as sorcerers go, I would be not a better way to end the series, other than, you know, my theory of Yuji waiting for new Mahito to reform. But it's been a long journey. I know I've said this multiple times, but thank you so much for being here. Here it is, chapter 270. While there's a lot of questions that are going unanswered, I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with the way a lot of these Culling Game characters are getting their ending. I don't know where Oro is. Maybe Gege forgot, but hey, you know what? Let's see what happens next chapter. And that, indeed, our friends, was the Jujutsu Kaisen we made along the way. Hit that like button, subscribe, check out the main channel for some more polished, you know, video essayist content, and make sure you join the Discord if you're a member of the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.